Yay, Wicked Deke here. Turning the tide. Yes, after all the negativity of the week, I think we need to reset. Let's take a look at the future. The Los Angeles Kings, a new hope. The kids. Yes, I know. It was tough getting rid of Cliffy and Soupy. But I swear, you people, I saw I saw less crying at the end of Titanic than I did this week. Jesus. Uh, if you really love Cliff, I mean, he's going home. He grew up a Leafs fan. It's kind of his dream to play there. Jesus, be happy for the guy. Do I wish they kept him? Yes. I think he would be great for the room and everything of that sort and everything that people talk about. But he is a fourth line wing. you know, we didn't lose Gretzky here. So, it is what it is. Are the Kings getting softer? Yes, they're getting softer. But this would seem to suggest that McDermott is going to be a fixture on the team for the next few years, which I think is good. So instead of looking at all the negativity and, we're going to die, let's look at the positivity, which is the kids are coming. You may not realize it, but they are coming. So let's start with the kids that might be up next year. It is alive. Mr. Velarde. Remember a bunch of you? He'll never play. He'll never play. He'll never put skates on. He'll never put pants on. He's playing, and he's rounding into shape. He's starting to look like pre-back apocalypse Velarde. Back apocalypse. Boy, try saying that 3 times fast. Looking good. He's gone through some spurts. But last night in the Reigns demolition of the Bakersfield, who knows what they're called, 10-3. He had 2 goals and assist. What is it with the Reign? They seem to either lose 8-0 or win 10-0. Something bizarre going on down there. But anyways, Velarde looks good. He looks like he's getting it back. Is he going to come up after the trade deadline? Probably not. I would think they would probably keep him down there and just let him, get back into the flow of things, just take it nice and slow. There's zero reason to bring him up, but I could see him coming up maybe the last month of the season, last couple of weeks, give him a taste of the NHL life so he knows kind of what's involved. And when he heads into the off season, he can, for the first time really start training, not just to, keep his back together, but actually for performance. And so maybe we'll see a little quicker Velarde next year, but I expect in the 2020-21 season that Velarde will be on the Kings. Hopefully at the beginning of the season. If not, certainly you would think, sometime fairly soon thereafter. And if that happens, you might want to sit down. Not only would we be picking up a top 6 forward, but we would be picking up our 2C. Yes, we would have a real second line center. How amazing would that be? So big pluses there. Cross your fingers. I myself sacrifice a chicken every Monday for his health. May it continue. B, Rex Ryan approves. Bjorn Footy. The Bjorner. Now, Bjorn Footy has an NHL game. Does he have an NHL body? He's been playing in the AHL. The few games I've watched, he looks pretty decent. I mean, he looks exactly like kind of what you think you're going to get in the NHL. Could easily see him coming up next year. An awful taste. Kale. Any of you people eating kale? You should know there's a 10th circle of hell, and all it is people eating kale. Kale Clague, I'm not a big fan, but others are. He's certainly, one way or the other, going to be up next year. We're going to find out. Can this kid play in the NHL? I don't think he can. Or can he? I would love to be wrong. So that's 2 defensemen coming up right there. Now, with the defenseman, I think it's interesting to note, you might keep in mind that with this whole new plan, it appears as though we have switched away from the older Kings model and are moving more towards maybe a Toronto-type model, which is to build more of a high-octane offense and, hope we have an average defense and that the structure can keep the goals against down and then have, a quality goaltender. I don't think the old age approach of building from the back forward is really what's going on here. I think they want a more high octane, more entertaining team. If you go watch Toronto, I've watched a couple games over this year. And then, of course, like most of you, I watched last night's game. You can see what they're doing. They put all their money into their offense. Matthews is freaking amazing. Marner, beautiful puck distribution. They have a dynamic offense. Their defense is just one of the worst I've seen in years. Not part of that is injuries, but they literally are they're not average. It's like Muzzin and, as I posted somewhere, 5 Paul Leducs. It's just not a pretty picture right now. Now they can go make a trade and add a defenseman. But in that model, you just need the defense to be average because the offense is going to score. I mean, they have so much talent. And it makes for exciting games. I mean, literally watching last night's game was more exciting than any Kings game for maybe the last 3 years. It was high scoring. But the offense was just amazing. Really. If you get a chance, go back and watch it. I think they're playing Montreal tonight. I'm sure it'll be the same thing. So keep an eye on it. You can see kind of that approach. So this idea that we're building from the back out, like we did with Lombardi, don't really think that's happening. So keep that in mind when you look at the defensive prospects. Full Moon, the Grunion is up. And, the Ewok King saying he's part of that solution. I'm a Grunion fan. I've always been a Grunion fan. I think they completely misuse him, but he's up. So let's see what he does. Hopefully he stays up and, gets a chance. Maybe, I don't know, go crazy. Put him in front of the net on the power play. I know. Wild thoughts. The quickening, obviously. I know this is painful for many of you. We had the Jack Campbell trade. So Peterson is up. And now we watch the fascinating interplay and Mexican soap opera as the Ewok King slowly tries to move Kyle Peterson into the starting position without completely having Quick yell at him and strangle him in the parking lot. So it'll be interesting to see how the transition happens. Probably going to be pretty slow this year. Most of the game's going to Quick. Peterson getting the odd game. And then next year, we'll see how it goes. Mr. Serious, Jarrett Anderson-Dolan. He's coming up. And to me, another bottom 6 forward. I don't know. Maybe he's really good in the room. Who knows? But he'll be up. So who knows? Mr. Forgotten, Brickley. Brickley started playing again. This is a kid who, man, he's gone through a lot. His dad dying, no death of a father is good, but it wasn't like sudden heart attack. It was drawn out over time. So that pretty much killed him one season. He's had injuries since then. Well, he's playing again. So, you can see him coming up, add some size to the team at some point. But I imagine he's got to get through a couple months without, any injuries just to show that he can be useful on the team. But nonetheless, I wouldn't forget about Brickley. Neo, Mr. Anderson, Mikey. Doesn't really look ready so much to come up this year, but you could see him coming up next year at some point. And Mikey Anderson, to me, looks like a Willie Mitchell type, just a good, solid, steady defenseman. So I think we're all right on the defensive side of the match that's coming up. But these kids are, they're going to make a lot of mistakes once they come up, but there's talent coming. So anyways, for next year, I think you could probably see certainly all or most of those kids at some point or another. Got to figure Velarde's going to be somebody who comes up stick, Grunion, Peterson as well. And I would think Bjornfoot as well, but we'll see. And then the year after that, we should at that point have Turcotte. Yes, I know the horrible World Junior Championship. First of all, it wasn't horrible. He was playing on the third line. For a comparison, they have the big black kid who's supposed to be the second pick in this draft. He didn't do anything in the World Junior Championship either. I mean, it's a 4-game tournament. Well, for where they went, so I wouldn't put too much into it. I think Turcotte will be fine. He's out now with an injury, I think a foot, but he should be coming back. So I figure he spends another year at Wisconsin, or maybe he heads over to the AHL, whatever. But another year for development. But he'll be coming up at some point. And if we have a center lineup of Kopi, Velarde, and Turcotte, that would be a great improvement over what we have now. Those would be 3 very solid centers who can provide offense and so on and so forth. Kupari, I don't know, year after next, I would have thought next year he would have been up, but of course, blowing out his knees, not great. I don't know how long it takes a hockey player to recover from that, but hopefully he'll be up and ready in 2 years. Kaliev is not going to make the team next year. I just don't think the rest of his game is that great. It's certainly not NHL level. Yes, his shooting is, I get it, but you got to do something other than shooting. If you complained about Covey, you can't be arguing that we should bring Kaliev up next year because it's basically the same thing. But he should be here in 2 years, and hopefully, he can get the rest of his game going. It just has to be average in everything else because his shooting is dynamic. Thomas should be up in 2 years. Our first rounder from this summer, Ken, we're looking at obviously a high top 5 pick. Great thing about this year's draft to me is really there's one elite player, Lafreniere, and the guys that go anywhere from 2 to probably 8 all look pretty close. They look pretty dynamic to me. The Drysdale kid, the defenseman, not a huge fan, got to be honest. Not big, and I just don't think he's that dynamic. Let's put it this way: if he was Swedish and not Canadian, I don't think a lot of people will be talking to him. But the kid out of Germany, Stoltz, like Raymond from Sweden. You got Holtz from Sweden. You got Rossi. A lot of people like Rossi. There's a bunch of good-looking kids. So whether we drop from 2 to 5, I wouldn't sweat it that much. You're going to get a good player, and then obviously if we can bump up to 1 and we get the French-speaking man, that would be epic because certainly we slap him on the first line with Kopi, and they could do some dynamic things. And then, of course, people like Fagemo. I don't know when Fagemo is coming over. I would imagine next year he will potentially be in the AHL. Maybe he comes up to the team in 2 years. Who knows? But there are people out there. And so as grim as it may be or may seem, don't get too depressed about it. This is what needs to happen. These kids are coming. Not all these kids are going to work out. That's why we need as many picks as possible. That's why we need to trade the Cliffies and the Soups and the Lewises and the Martinezes and the Toffolies. You want to get as many picks as you can. If you go look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think we can all agree they have a lot of talent. Look at their roster. There's something kind of odd about it. Most of their first round picks when, the great Yzerman years were crap. Not most. A lot of them didn't work out. Never even made to the NHL level. A lot of those guys that you see that are incredibly talented on the team are like 2nd, 3rd, 6th round picks. And so, it's kind of a lesson to get as many picks as we can. So we just have this flow of talent coming. We develop a strong core of people who make it. And then, at the last minute, we make some trades for the Gaboricks and Carters and Richards of the world, and we go win more cups. So anyways, to me, I think it's going to be what about next year? I know people are complaining this year about the losing. I see the posts, how does this help our team? Well, it doesn't help our team this year. It's not meant to. Next year, clench your butt cheeks. I think we're going to be even worse. Because these kids, what we're going to be is energetic, probably exciting, a lot of mistakes. Because these kids, particularly if a lot of them come up at the same time, they don't have any experience in the NHL. I mean, you look at the Ducks right now, and I know we hate the Ducks, but they're about a year ahead of us. You can see they brought up their kids, a lot of their kids, Sam Steeles of the world, the different players who were supposed to be hot prospects for them, and you can see they're kind of floundering. You can see Jack Hughes is kind of floundering. Kako with the Rangers. It's not because they're bad players or they're not talented or whatever. It's just a big step up to the NHL. So as we bring these kids up, there's going to be errors. Next year's, if Kopi does his usual schedule, next year's a down year for him. So next year that could be rough. But the year after that, things could start looking up because, hopefully some of these players will be up and they'll have a year under their collar and they'll be more comfortable in the league. And, we'll start seeing the flow of more and more talent coming in and we'll start winning. So don't get depressed. It's process, people. Process the plan. Fire Rob Blake. Deke out.